Right, so sewing, major prep skill. Now, I know we all use the word prep, but I hate it. I hate the word prep. These are life skills that people 100 years ago just knew. So I know my channel is called the Canadian Tech Prep channel, but prep, it's like, that's what you do when you work in a kitchen, right? You prep food. What we're doing when we're doing this stuff is we're just making life better with the resources that we have and not outsourcing it to other people. We're not relying on the government for food. If something happens, we're not relying on hiring a tailor to sew our gear. We're not relying on other people to take us out into the woods. This is stuff that we have been doing for 4 million years as humans. You know, we make tools and we get better with tools. I'm going to go over sewing today because it's a major skill that you need to know. My foray into sewing started with Air Cadets sewing on patches, and it progressed to making tactical gear. And I'll show you. You know, this is all made, handmade, you know, IFAC trauma kit, custom make everything for what I need it for. This pack, I've moved away from all black because I'm not always snake eyes, but when I am, I'm deadly with the edge weapons and the small Uzi. So, the basics, what do you need to sew? You need a lighter, you need thread, you need needles, and you need scissors. I also have a scalpel. And a scalpel, you know, you can buy these little thread ripping tools, but I find that they actually just pierce the material. And a scalpel, you can actually run it right along an old thread. A lot of sewing is, you know, if you're not educated, then you're doing a lot of redoing of your work. And so a scalpel, a sharp scalpel. The blades are cheap. Get a scalpel. You can also do surgery when you accidentally shoot yourself in the knee with the Glock. Right, not that you would ever do that. Not that I have known anyone to do that either. But the needle that you want depends on the work that you're doing. But regardless, you want a longer needle. Oh, the other thing that you're going to need is invaluable is a needle threader. Because, and you want to have this in your first aid kit, or sorry, your tactical sewing kit when you're out in the field, because if you have cold hands and or wet or whatever the case may be, you don't have a cut end on your thread, it makes threading the needle so much easier. I mean, it's actually, you have to have it. Right, so, right, oh my God. Now imagine your hands were cold and your backpack's broken, you're on some trail, your significant other is getting hypothermic and you gotta repair something. You need to get this friggin' needle threaded, right? Okay, so thread the needle with the needle threader. Take the running end of the thread, put it through the thread, the threader wire, and then pull the whole thing through. Voila, your needle is threaded. Okay, Then you're going to pull about an arm's length. Okay, I use outdoor exterior 100% polyester thread for the color I need. If you don't have a preference, then black. Black everything. Black thread everywhere, all the time. Okay, so I've got two lengths, equal lengths of thread. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your finger in between them and sort of pinch both and grab the needle, and you're going to get all the twists out of the thread. This is important because if you tie the knot at the end without doing that, then it's going to kink when you try to pull that through. Okay, so I've got two lengths of thread. They're even at the ends, and I'm just tying a square knot. Okay, you're going to have tails, and you can just trim those tails. Alright, so we've got this piece of material that we need to do something with. Alright, we've got an edge here that we need to sew together. So I'm going to put it together, and I'm going to trim that edge so that it is flush and even. I'm going to start on the bound side, right? Because as you go, there's going to be slack. If you start on the open side of a seam and you work this way, by the time you get here, your cloth is going to be twisted. And there's going to be a bulge in it. So you want to always start at the captured end. Okay, I'm going to push the needle through, pull it all the way through, and before you pull it all the way through, put the needle through the loop where you tied the knot. Okay, that becomes a knot on itself, and you pull it tight. Okay, and then you just work down the seam. If it's super long thread, then I will actually put my finger and capture the end coming through so that it doesn't get kinked up, and you're just making simple knots like that. As you get better, you can make them bigger or smaller, and this is just for demonstration purposes, so I'm not going to do the whole length. Right, so you get to one point, you finish that, and what I do, if it's an important seam or an exposed seam and I don't have a sewing machine, I go back on the same pattern and I'm going to pull it. Okay, so here is a good example. We've got a loop that, or a loop that is uneven. So what I'm going to do is take this needle, pull everything back out so that it's even again, even up my needle, and then pull it so it's tight. You want to just make sure that your knots are tight and even all the way down. Right? So here, I'm just using my other fingers to kind of, I'll hold it open, pick it back into place, place the knot, tighten it, and back to the first stitch. Stitch in time saves 9, right? That's the whole point. So you get to the end of wherever you're sewing and you want to tie this off. You just grab a bit of material or push it right through and you make a loop, or you go through the loop that's remaining. And you can see here, even though I've taken all the kinks out of it, it still wants to bind up. Okay, and I just do that a couple times. And as close as possible together. Right, and then you've got a closed double stitch. Turn the material inside out, and if you've done it properly, you can't even see it's there. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to sew. That's one of them. Right? Cut the thread. I immediately tie another knot in the thread if there's length enough to reuse that, right? Because it's already threaded, ready to go. Put your needle into the spool, wrap that excess thread, and put it back in your kit with the threader. Take your lighter, burn the ends, and there you go. You can sew.